You asked. Maybe it was out loud, but maybe it was in the middle of the night when you couldn't sleep. Maybe it's a question that you would never ask in church, and maybe it's the reason you stepped away in the first place. Whatever it was, you asked. And I just want to say that counts for something. Because here's the thing that no one tells you. Questions are just the beginning. They are not the problem. Welcome to the You Asked, Let's Talk podcast, where we have honest-to-God conversations about the Bible and real life. My name is Bobby McGraw, and I'm so glad you're here. Before I tell you what this podcast is, I'd love to tell you a little bit about who this podcast is for. Maybe you have some sort of faith background, but somewhere along the way, the questions begin to outnumber the answers. You didn't make a big announcement, but something shifted inside of you, and so you started to take a step back. And now you're not sure if you'll ever make your way back or if you even want to. Or maybe faith has never really been part of your life, not because you're necessarily opposed to it. It's just that no one made it feel like a place where it had room for someone like you. Or maybe you're still showing up in your faith community, but there are questions and things underneath the surface that you would never say out loud. Questions that feel too risky to ask in a building where it feels like you should have it all figured out by now. Here's the stat that floored me when I first saw this research. Roughly 70% of Americans consider themselves spiritually curious. 70%. That's not a fringe group, that's most people. They're open, they're interested, they're asking real questions, but something keeps getting in the way. Sometimes I think the reason is because we think that conversations around God, faith, and real life comes with a loaded agenda. Like somewhere down the road, somebody's going to try to close the deal. And you've been down that road before, and you know how it ends. Sometimes I honestly think it's a trust issue. The people that were supposed to represent something good didn't live up to it. And that gap between what they preached and how they lived, it's just hard to get past. Sometimes I think it's because faith feels like this insider's club that has its own insider's language. There's these insider terms, unwritten rules, and this quiet shame of feeling like everybody else has already figured out the answers. Or honestly, it could be a lot simpler than all of that. It could be that you've just never had a safe place to ask. Here's what I've come to believe in almost 30 years in this work. The problem is not doubt. The problem is not having anywhere to take it. Let me take just a moment to tell you why I care about this work. For almost 30 years, I've been sitting with people in the middle of these conversations. Some are skeptics, some are seekers, people who've been burned, people who have walked away from faith and they're not sure if they can find their way back, people who've been in church their whole lives but are still carrying questions underneath the surface they're afraid to say out loud. And what I've learned, and it took me a little while to actually get this, is that my job in these conversations is not to have all the answers. My job is to stay really curious. The goal is to stay curious long enough to find the question that's actually behind the question, to ask the thing that nobody's asking out loud, to create that kind of space where the real thing can finally surface. Alongside the faith work I've done, I've been able to be a coach to many people. I've spent a chunk of my life doing coaching work alongside the work in the ministry. And the best thing that discipline taught me is this. The most important thing that I can do for someone is not hand them a conclusion. It's actually to sit with them in the question so that they can see even clearer and invite them into a next step. That's what I want this podcast to be. Not a lecture, not a sales pitch, really just a conversation led by somebody who's been walking down this same road, who's wrestled with the same things, and genuinely believes that the questions are worth following. Think of it this way. Years ago, my friend Matt was invited to go on a whitewater rafting trip. The problem is he heard somebody got injured on that river earlier in the season. And so when he showed up with the group, he did not want to raft. But the guide came up to him next to the boat. He said, "I hear you. Man, this river is no joke. And I want you to know, I've been down this river more than 2,000 times and I've never lost anyone." And that's what got Matt into that boat. Not pretending, not acting like there was no risk involved, not saying this is going to be easy, but just by saying, "I know this river, I've got you, let's go." And that's the kind of energy I want to bring to this podcast. So here's how You Asked, Let's Talk actually works. The name actually says it all. You ask the questions and we talk about it. Every single episode starts with a real question, the kind of question that lives in the back of your mind, the one that you've typed in ChatGPT late at night, the kind that you've asked Google hoping something meaningful would come back, the kind of question that you've wondered but you've never had the right person to wonder with. So we sit down, me and a guest, someone who has thought deeply about that question, and we have an honest conversation. Authors, scholars, teachers, normal people who have asked these same things, they've wrestled with them, and they've come out on the other side with something worth sharing. Now, these conversations do not have a pre-decided conclusion. There is no pressure to land anywhere specific, just an honest attempt to move from confusion to a little bit more clarity. And then we invite you into the journey, and maybe somewhere along the way you consider, is there a next step for you? Now, we are going to use words like God, faith, and Jesus in this podcast, not to trigger anyone, but because these words actually mean something in the conversation. We're not going to dress it up, and we are not going to water it down. But I promise you this, we are not here to tell you how to think. We're here to walk alongside you as you think. And as you listen to this podcast, regardless of where you land on the conversations, our hope is that you will walk away feeling like you were respected, that we gave you something real, and that we treated your questions like they matter, because they do. So new episodes are going to drop regularly, and they are built around your questions. You can submit your questions at clearfaith.org/podcast, the kind of questions you've been sitting with, the kind of questions you've been working through, the kind of questions that you would ask if you knew nobody was going to judge you for asking it. And that's literally how we build the show. Your questions shape the conversation. So here's what I want to leave you with. There is a name to this podcast, and that name does mean something. You asked. We think questions really do matter. Let's talk, because you don't have to have the conversation by yourself. So whatever question you send our way, that's what this podcast is about. So bring it. The hard stuff, the real stuff, the quiet things that you've been carrying for longer than you'd want to admit. This is You Ask, Let's Talk. Honest to God conversations about the Bible in real life. Subscribe wherever you listen and swing by clearfaith.org/podcast to drop your question in today. I cannot wait to have these conversations with you. Let's go.